Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I am Lana Borealis. I am the creatrix of the Energy Magic Love program, or the Energy Magic Love system, and the Magic Keys to Freedom program. And so it's really lovely to be with all of you today. And today I have with me the effervescent, beautiful, wonderful, amazing, magical Magic Mel. And so I met Magic Mel through it's an integrative change worker program. It was a coaching training, and it was a really very thorough training on hypnosis and NLP, neuro-linguistic reprogramming or programming. And there were other aspects to it, but it was really magical and very well-rounded program. And every time I saw Magic Mel, she would ask a lot of questions, and and every time I saw her, I was like, there is something really, really special about that woman. And eventually we worked together. I think she signed up for, I was offering some hybrid sessions to people in the program that were a mix of what we learned in the program and my own flavor of energy, magic, energy healing. And Magic Mel signed up for that, and that's how we met, and we have been friends ever since. So welcome, Mel. So I know that you are a coach and an artist, and among lots of other things, you also run a really magical sort of Airbnb healing retreat kind of space. Can you tell us about all the various things that you do?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
It said you had to unmute me. All good. Good morning to you guys over in the US. I'm already like up and running here in Spain. It's afternoon here. I'm super happy to be here with you all. And yeah, so I do several things, absolutely. I mean, I come from a fine art background. This is one of my paintings, my guardian angel Charles. But I've been a teacher, university lecturer, and now I'm a tarot reader. I call myself a guide also. I facilitate healing, and I run my spiritual retreats now. They're literally in progress. And I also offer my space, Casa Lily, which is my family home, as a kind of recovery, regenerative co-working space for burned out artists, so actually anybody who's burned out and just wants to ground themselves again and connect with themselves here. So this is the place where I healed. It's a whole story. And I'm opening the doors of Casa Lily now to other people because I live in a magical place. So my house, Casa Lily, is on the slopes of a beautiful mountain also called the Mongo. And I'm in Javia, Costa Blanca, Spain. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing. And I do coaching also. And I run my YouTube channel, Mel's Magic Official.
And you can also be found at Instagram, Mel's Magic Official, and Facebook, Melanie
Yes.
Magic Mel.
Yes.
And so before we get into all the journey and the process, how do people access you to work with you? Because I want to get that right there in the beginning. So
You're
people
awesome.
know.
Well, you can contact me via my website. It's www.melsmagicofficial.com. Basically my handle is Mel's Magic Official. So same for Instagram, Melanie Magic Mel on Facebook, and Twitter, Mel's Magic Official. All of the social media is Mel's Magic Official. And you can email me also, melsmagicofficial@gmail.com. So yeah.
And I assume you do like one-on-one sessions with people. Is that?
Yes, one-on-one sessions. And I also hold monthly full moon ceremonies. Actually, tomorrow, 26th, I'm holding one. I love to provide a safe space for release ceremony every full moon. It's a bit like housekeeping. And I guide people, I guide you also on meeting aspects of yourself that you're ready to confront or release. And yeah, it's a beautiful ritual that I hold every month. Otherwise, yes, I do one-on-one coaching, and I'm offering my spiritual retreat packages. I'll keep you guys posted on that, yeah, on my website.
Great. Awesome.
Yeah.
And so you are Magic Mel.
Yes.
And so how did Magic Mel as an identity, as a version of yourself, how did that come to be?
Yeah, that is really the key question. So as I shared with you, I come from this fine art background. Like my real name is Melanie Lou Gritzka del Villar, and I was this very serious artist, on this fine art career. But our conversation here also has to do with keys to freedom, no, and healing, our reconnecting with our inner child. So my entire transformation from Melanie Gritzka del Villar to Magic Mel has to do with reclaiming my inner child, which is Magic Mel. So literally the way I'm talking, when you see my eyes glow, that is that aspect of me coming out. So regardless of your age, I just want to also like make it super clear, we have this inner child in us, all of us, because we are multidimensional. And in our kind of linear way of thinking, we think, oh, when I was 0, I was 0, when I was 1, I was 1, and so forth. And we kind of compartmentalize things, whereas in fact all of your different versions, the 5-year-old, the 10-year-old, they're still alive in you. And it's by reclaiming and connecting with those aspects in you that you really feel whole, and you have a sense of vitality. So Melanie Magic Mel is really functions in connection with, I don't know what exact, maybe like 5-year-old me, and my journey from the very serious kind of ego driven version of me to this more liberated version has to do with reconnecting and healing, getting back in touch with the little version of me. So that's also what our conversation is about. It's really, I want to share with you how I personally went through this transformation. I wasn't even aware of it. This thing also, I think we're all wounded as children, one way or the other. And this woundedness, is, it separates us now from this authentic version. So again, like the little version of you is like the really authentic, the quirky one, the one that's full of joy and that's just free to express himself, themselves, herself, no? But we go through these wounding, well, most of us, no, I went through this wounding where I had to kind of separate from that and kind of dissociate from that, because and then I went into a performative version of myself to get validation from my caregivers. So, I was kind of emotionally neglected, no judgment on my parents, but I had to really dig deep and understand what happened because I went through this transformation. No? So what I found out is that, yeah, as a child, I grew up in this very volatile environment where it was very unpredictable. There was divorce, there was moving, there was just so much unpredictability and volatility in my environment that I had to kind of park my emotional needs and highly attuned to my caregivers. So that's when this split happened. And it was all unconscious, no? So that's this very early age was unconscious. But this wounding, this disconnection grew, as I aged, up to a point where in 2019, I had this massive breakdown where literally the universe, put me back in my childhood home. It's kind of all synchronistic, in bizarre ways synchronistic, where I had to relook at my past. And like, how did I get here? How did I end up being so disconnected from myself? And, it was really a dark phase in my life. So again, I went back, being here, I went back in time and really tried to look at my past and what really happened. And then, yeah, I discovered this, the fact that there was this wounding, this disconnection, and that I had to go and forgive myself. So it was a very inner psychological journey. I'm very much into Jungian theory, you know, where you got kind of go down to darkness and face your own shadow, your own what seems like a monster or like something that is haunting you. I mean, I felt like haunted by something dark, up to the point where when I had the courage, it took some courage to face that. I realized, oh my God, it's not a monster that I need to face. It's the child version of me that felt betrayed and abandoned primarily by me and, you know, by others, but with my consent. So there's a whole internal process in 2019 after this breakdown where I had to reconnect with, I'm going to show you. I've got her here because she's very precious to me, with Mini Magic Mel. You know, I literally, and you know, it was through discovering this photo, kind of all synchronistically. I was going through my stuff here, you know, when I found this photo, and I'm like, oh my God, this creature, you know, is in me. And that is what is haunting me, because she was kind of like from the shadow. When we talk about shadow, it's a part of ourselves that we're not conscious of, where we're not aware of. It's just the light of our consciousness is not looking that direction. So she was, you know, because I didn't listen, she was screaming at me, "You've abandoned me, you've betrayed me." And I had to do this inner work and reconcile with her. And when I figured, you know, that this was really the essence of my depression, of this disconnection, I felt so much. First, I felt so sad. You know, I was really crying because I'm like, how could I imagine yourself as a what, like 3-year-old, 5-year-old? You're like so innocent and so pure. You look at the world, you know, you just want to be loved. You're full of love. And to have betrayed yourself in that way, it was very hard to accept, swallow. And then, yeah, to ask for forgiveness. You know, I really said, hey, I'm really sorry that I didn't know better at that time. We didn't know better because we were in survival mode. But can you forgive me? Can you come back, you know, reclaim? We're talking about reclaiming. So can you reconnect with me? I need you, because she's the sense of all like quirkiness, vitality. She goes around, she makes me go around and, you know, every day look at the world with fresh eyes, not this kind of, you know, our jaded mask where everything seems drag and gray. So the gray. So it's mini me who reminds me, hey, every day is precious, every day is a miracle. Do what brings you joy, because life is short. You know, it's without her, I'd be like, it would be all gray here, you know. So she's really, 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 really important. And basically, you know, this is what our conversation is about here. You know, it's so important to reclaim our inner child and have it alive in us again, because it brings out your creativity, your aliveness, and connection with your higher self. That's like a whole yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I asked your question, maybe in a roundabout way, but yeah, that is how Melanie Gritzka de Vea became Magic Mel. Because, you know, I was also a painter, and I was traumatized after my own, like pushing myself so hard where I'm like, I'm not even going to paint anymore, until I asked little Magic Mel. I said, well, maybe you can help me. You know, like what would you like to paint? She's like, I want to paint rainbows. I want to go pink. I want to go like crazy colors. I'm like, okay, you know. my German side, my ego was like, are you sure? And we're like, yes, we do what she wants. And then I started painting again, you know, thanks to her. So for you creatives also, if you're blocked creatively, reconnecting with your inner child brings out that play part again, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So being back at Casa Lily, is that what it's called?
Yes.
Casa Lily sort of prompted this examination of your past. And so I assume that was like a painful process. I mean, I assume that there was some like really, I want to hear about the darkness a little bit and the, because, and here, the reason is why is because there's a lot of people who are in that darkness now, and it just looks like life to them, but like, once there's some kind of trigger or something that helps people think or be aware of, like, I can't go on like this anymore.
Yeah.
You know, there's always something where they either hit their limit in terms of like how they're feeling or acting or experiencing life, or like you had this trigger. And so I'm kind of interested in the like the trigger moment and the sort of darkness that followed that.
I mean, you know, we're also talking about, as I said, it was a kind of accumulation in my life, but I came back here and I looked at everything and I realized, wow, I had always been carrying like a void in my solar plexus area. Like literally, I always felt like it hurt, and it was just empty in there. And I actually, you know, I was binge eating as a teenager. I had an eating disorder. Something came over me when I turned 16. It's like this dark cloud suddenly came over me. And even my parents, you know, I all of a sudden I didn't wake up in the morning. I didn't, I was just lifeless. And that's when this depression really started. I didn't understand it. I mean, looking back, it was obvious that I was depressed, but you know, we didn't go to like a psychiatrist or anything like that. But I realized like, wow, that whole darkness started when I was 16. And looking back, I mean, the way I made sense of it is like I accumulated the toxicity, the negativity of my parents, who they didn't know how to process their emotions. I mean, it was really toxic relationship, and I was so highly sensitive. You know, I'm an artist, and I was born into the situation. I just swallowed everything. That's also how my eating disorder started, because I was just I can't. I feel these terrible emotions in my belly, and I don't know what to do with it. Something is wrong with me, and I just started, you know, like stuffing myself because I was scared, because I wanted to create a kind of like safety, like an airbag almost against the world, because it felt so threatening. And I just wanted to almost like stuff down my emotions. I'm like, I don't, you know, I don't know what to, I didn't know what to do with all of that. So, you know, that was one trigger that I battled, or one coping mechanism that I battled with a long time for, because it became my, you know, if I'm distressed, if I was stressed, that was my way of self-soothing, you know. Then there were other things, you know, I started smoking because I was constantly anxious. Um, Drinking, not so much drinking, it was more the smoking, because I was always anxious, and I was always, funnily enough, you know, like short of breath. And I'm like, in a weird way, paradox, strange, you know, like, oh, the cigarette gives me fresh air.
Well, if
But
you think about it, it is kind of a form of breath work because it's like, okay,
it is, it
inhale.
is. And then of course nicotine, you know, does give us this kick. So basically it came down to this void in myself that was trying to fill, that was always there. So I was trying to fill it with food, with cigarettes, with lovers, but that void just remained until, as I said, you know, because you asked me about triggers, it was just several things, but the big thing that grew inside of me, apart from the depressive episodes and all of these coping mechanisms that were also cumulative in the effect, um, was the, oh my God, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, oh yes, the critic. So internally, and again, I wasn't aware because I couldn't disidentify with it, there was this growing voice inside of me that was very destructive. So, you know, it's the voice that says, you're not good enough. You know, if I made a mistake, it would beat me up. You know, it would literally beat me up. It actually to a point where, you know, almost self-harmed. And 2019, I mean, I was really close of, you know, taking my life, because this voice just grew into, I couldn't escape it. You know, internally, I was in this internal hell where the self-destructive non-self voice became like this monster, like a terrorist inside of me, you know. So I don't think there was like a specific trigger, but this cumulative effect of this initial wounding, you know, and then these coping mechanisms. I'm constantly trying to, I guess, cope, just cope, no, without realizing what was really going on. And the big wounding was really this not knowing that this voice inside of me is not really me. It was became this I guess since childhood, no, this kind of aspect in me that was self-destructive, self-destructive. And what was missing all the time, the void that was also growing, was the lack of self-love. You know, somebody actually pointed out in 2000, you know how you meet people and they tell you things in specific moments and you're like, oh my God, that is so profound. You know, and it stays in your mind. Like somebody once told me, said, Mel, you don't love yourself. And I was like, shit, that's true. Like, I don't love myself. Somebody else said, you need to value yourself more. So imagine me, like I was a super high achiever ever since first grade. You know, my mom even told me in German school, I came home like crying. I was destroyed because I got a 3 instead of a 1. Like in Germany, 1 is the best grade, like an A, and I got a C. And I was like broken, you know? And she said, I was always this high, super high achiever because unconsciously, again, with the void, I was trying to prove that I'm worth something. And I was trying to prove to other people, and I had all these, you know, from the outside, you think I'm the stellar, you know, A student, everything amazing. But inside, I just felt empty and destroyed. And as I told you, the thing that was active was this inner critic. So, you know, one thing that was a real trigger, it was in romantic relationships. I kept on manifesting situations, I wouldn't even call them relationships, but let's say situations where my abandonment wound would get triggered in romantic scenarios, no? And, you know, it's like this process, us becoming conscious of our own patterns, of our own shadow, it is a process, no? So again, cumulative effect, 2019, I had no choice because I was so destroyed. I had no choice but to really just press the pause button and look at my life and try and understand all of the patterns, all of the situations, all of the encounters I had, and piece together the messages also that people told me. You don't love yourself. You don't value yourself, until I, you know, and then facing little me thinking, shit, yeah, I don't love myself. I'm completely disconnected from myself. I hate myself. And that's when I'm like, well, who is hating? You know, I start to question, who is hating who? Who is this voice anyway? Like, what is this self-destructive voice in me that is super active? So yeah, it was a very dark process. And I have to also share that it wasn't just a psychological one. I mean, you know that the mind body complex is one. So even 2019 biochemically, you know, I was so down. I had to take I was very much against it, but I had to take them antidepressants just to like kickstart me back into to even be able to move. You know, I wasn't able to get out of bed. And that's difficult to explain because, you know, let's say we talk about depression, I don't take that word lightly because there's such a spectrum, you know? So let's say I was at the spectrum of like almost, you know, self-annihilation, but I couldn't get up also. So there was this process of really starting my body again and then looking at my mind. How did my thoughts make me so sick, you know? Because my thoughts were driving me crazy, were making me sick, making my body sick. So yeah, and then I realized I'm very much into shadow work. I looked into my shadow, like what is it that's haunting me so much? You know, there was the little version of me, and I realized also there's a lot of ancestral healing going on because I had a whole lineage of, you know, from my father's side, schizophrenia.
Yeah.
But I said, you know what? I mean, I was already almost destroyed at that point. I'm like, I'm gonna look at this, like this thing. For some reason, I held on to this glimmer of light, and I said, even if my own thoughts are telling me to like literally intrusive thoughts and like, you're gonna kill yourself, you're gonna kill yourself. I said, no, there's this one tiny thing of light, and I'm gonna just protect this thing, you know. Yeah, and I really think like my soul somehow sent out an SOS signal. There was a former classmate here who, you know, when I came back here after 3 months, I was just in bed and my mom was really worried. Good thing my mom was here. My classmate then phoned me. She said, Mel, we made an appointment with the psychiatrist and you're going to go there. And you're going to take whatever medication they're going to give you. And I was like debating with her. I'm like, no. And she's like, Mel, you want to take your life anyway, so you got nothing to lose. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So I kind of like logically said, yeah, that kind of makes sense, because my mind was sick, you know.
Yeah.
And then I jump started with the antidepressant, and I could move again. And then I still had these very crazy, haunting panic attacks, which is also I want to share, you know, the antidepressants, from my experience, they can help you. For example, I needed one where it wasn't just the SSRI, but it was a painkiller. I was in so much pain, like physical pain, that just SSRI wasn't enough. I needed the SSRI plus Neo, I can't remember the name. It was like a painkiller part that made me able to function again. And I realized, wow, okay, it's actually helping me at least to move again.
Yeah.
But you still have to look at the root cause of the depression. No antidepressant can do that work for you. It's a psychological work, you know? So you got to face your own psyche. You got to do some psychological healing there. So in that 2020, you know, I jump started again. I had these panic attacks. It's all a bit of a mosaic of a story, but I hope you can piece it together. So 2020, I had these panic attacks still, where, you know, at one point I was sitting in the car with a friend, and I told him, I said, you know what, I can't do this terror anymore. Like, I don't know if any guys of you had panic attacks, but it feels like, it's so undescribable. It feels like I would actually freeze, but I would think I was going to die, because my brain was just going in all, and I was in such terror, you know. And I told my friend, I said, I can't do this anymore. This is going to end in some, imagine I'm driving, I'm getting this crazy, like I'm going to cause an accident or have an accident, something, I'm going down a very bad road. I can't do this anymore. You know, and I was thinking, you know, I just want this to stop. Like, I can't deal with it psychologically, spiritually, physically, emotionally. Like, I'm so tired. I can't, whatever this thing is that's freaking haunting me, I can't do this anymore. So, and I said, like, in desperation, I said, you know what? If the devil exists, like, just take an arm, take it, like, I don't care anymore. Just take away the terror from my mind. I'm exhausted. I can't do this anymore. And then my friend was like, well, you're speaking to the devil. Maybe you should speak to God. And I'm like, you know, but I was thinking, God? Because, you know, I was so skeptical and so cynical. I grew up in a Catholic background, and with all respect, you know, it's my personal experience, it didn't help much, because it was a lot of like mea culpa, my fault, you know, weighing down with your sins and all of that. It didn't really help me. And I was like, God? But then I thought about it again. I tried to think about it rationally. I'm like, okay, maybe while the devil is thinking about, I'll talk to God. So literally that night, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I was lying there. I remember that day. It was the 14th of January, 2021. It was like dark, and I was lying there. I said, okay. I thought, what I'm going to say. And I remembered this Catholic prayer, which I thought I'm going to turn around, because the prayer said, Lord, I am not worthy to receive you, but just say the word and I shall be healed. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to turn it around. And I said, Lord, I am worthy to receive you. Just say the word and I shall be healed. And I said, look, I'm so at the end of it, like, I'm either I'm going to die or something is going to happen. I give up. I surrender. You know, I can't do this anymore. I need your help. If you exist, please help me. And I said, if you help me, I promise I'll use this for something good, like this entire crazy experience. Like, and then I just fell asleep. And the next day, so this was like, you know, remember 2019, I was a complete terror. Like, I was actually 2019, an entire year in constant pain, where I also said to everyone, I said, no human being can be in this state. And I told my mom, you know, I was like, I'm going to extinguish myself because I cannot bear the pain. Like, you know, if I'm going to take my life, it's because I cannot stand the pain physically and emotionally. Like, I can't stand it anymore. So at that point, you know, 2020, after the prayer, I woke up the next day And then I woke up and I felt really strange and very disoriented. And I kind of got up and I thought, this is so weird. Feels strange. And I went out into the garden. Everything was really clear, like crystal clear. And I'm like, and I called my friend. I called the same friend, the one I talked about with the devil. And I said, I feel really strange. He's like, well, what are you feeling? I feel like I don't feel any pain. And he's like, I guess that's good. I'm like, yeah, but it's so strange. Maybe I'm manic now, from like manic depressive now. And he's like, you don't sound, you're not, I don't think you're gonna like be reckless now. And we're gonna just keep me posted. Just keep me posted. But I felt like somebody who had arrived after a storm to like an island. And I just arrived at the shore and I was like catching my breath and like, oh my God, and I just thought, okay, I'm not going to jinx it. And I thought, what the hell happened? This is so bizarre. Like, what the hell happened? I thought, okay, I did say that prayer. And part of my brain was like, that can't be it. Maybe the antidepressants are going all crazy now or whatever. But I thought, no, I did say that prayer. So I'm like, I'm not going to jinx it. I'm just going to crawl up the shore slowly and just catch my breath. And then I thought, holy shit, maybe that thing worked. And there was the 15th of January 2021 up to now. I had no relapse. The depression, it was literally like a light switch. It sounds crazy. Even my German mind says that sounds absolutely crazy, but it's like what happened. It's like divine intervention. It's like a light switch from chronic crazy pain to like boom. And then, of course, I did say, okay, I'm going to sit my ass down and I'm going to meditate Joe Dispenza, because I also started, this whole neuroscience, changing your state, being in the present moment, meditation. I said, I'm going to sit down, meditate for 40 days and make it like a science experiment. I mean, I wasn't convinced, but I'm like, I have nothing to lose anymore. I'm completely destroyed. I need to work on this. So I sat my ass down for 40 days, meditating for like an hour. It really worked. And I started to attract, all of a sudden people came there was a healing, a lady who did Yin Shin Jitsu, which is a Japanese healing modality to regulate, it's like self-help with your energy system. All of a sudden, because I surrendered and I was willing to heal. And I told the heavens, I said, I'm going to rebuild myself. I'm going to heal. Like, this is my thing now. And I took it very seriously. And it took 3 years. I mean, it's still, ongoing, but let's say it took the first year, I couldn't deal with people. I was like super basic. I felt like an alien who just appeared on the planet, and I had to sleep properly again, eat properly again, rest a lot, be super patient, because I was very impatient with my body. I said, okay, let's do some sport. My body's like, no way. Like, you pushed yourself so over the edge for so many years. You've burned out so many times. Like, we're not doing this again. So I had to just throw away all timelines, my entire past life, all my career-driven perfectionist. I got to be the best. I have to prove to the world I had to throw all of that away. It's like Kali. I don't know if you're aware of the Hindu goddess Kali. I had a visualization actually of Kali, who's a slayer of worlds. She looks a bit threatening, but she's actually not. She just she has a lot of swords and decapitated heads, which are a symbol for your ego. She came galloping on a horse, from the sunrise, galloping towards me and like decapitated me. And after she decapitated me, my new head grew out of me, and she took me onto the horse and we galloped away into the sunset, because she's like, you need to surrender your ego. I was like, oh, well, that's what happened. Ego is all this, well, externally driven way of being, so this transformation basically can be summarized in this image here. This is the amount of darkness, heaviness, pain, trauma. Like, I literally felt like that. I'm like, I can't, my body's heavy as lead and I can't move. And then this moment happened on the 15th of January 2021, and I I transmuted this entire darkness into what I am now. It's hard to believe. Like, you wouldn't look at me and think that happened. And even I know, I'm like, shit, did that really happen? But but it happened, you know. I mean, it's insane. And I also told myself, if I can do this, then anybody can do this. I'm not special in that sense. And I'm gonna share this story, you know, this is all part of my mission, not to convince anyone, but say, well, this is how I did it. Maybe something here resonates with you because, you know, when something deeply personal becomes universal, we all go through like archaic, universal experiences. And yeah, you know, I'm really trying to say, well, this is my journey. And I was really in that darkness and I understand the darkness. And that's how I came out of it, or how I reconnected with source, with myself, with my inner child. And yeah, and joy is possible. That's a big thing also, you know, your inner child is full of joy. I didn't even know what joy was, like for 38 years of my life. Like I didn't even know like joy, you know, somebody would tell me joy. Like what the hell is joy? I guess happiness, you know, you get happy every now and then, but joy is something different. Joy is just, you know, feeling yourself and feeling like, okay, this is me and I can express myself and I'm, you know, it's something much deeper, I feel. So, you know, my message is also joy. Like joy is possible from darkness and disconnection and all of that, and self-loathing, you know, that was one thing. It was constant self-loathing in my life. It's crazy. And you know, I think I'm objectively, you know, pretty, have many talents, but I hated myself. I mean, that was so sad. It was really sad. So, you know, here's another painting I want to show you, which I made shortly after I resurrected on the 15th of January. And it's this, you know, I'm an artist, and for me, my spirit animal is the horse. So my healing also, because it was so intense, I had to use with my Jungian dream analyst the symbol of the horse to rehabilitate myself. And she kept on encouraging me, Mel, like make a drawing, like you are an artist, you know, make an image. So this was the first image that came out because, you know, remember I told you about the big void, the hole I was feeling all throughout my life. This was basically 2019, where this divine intervention, which is also my hand, remember, you are your own healer. I allowed this healing process to take place. And it's my own self-love and the love of, you know, higher power regenerating me. And there's my little guardian angel praying for me. But yeah, it was a really intense, really intense, uh, really intense journey. Hope this is making sense.
Yeah, it definitely is. Thank you for taking us on that journey. I think that's a really helpful part for people to understand. You know, guides and healers and coaches and whatnot, you know, I think it's helpful to know that either the person has personal experience in that space and coming out of it, or they have more of like a working experience where they've worked with enough people through it that they've you know, have these great tools. You know, I personally am more like you, where I went through the darkness and brought all these tools out of it with me. And so I find that very relatable. And so you came out of the darkness with a mission. You know, you made a promise to God.
I promise. Yeah. And that's like, I'm still, because it's ongoing, you know, for example, BFCC, everything now in my life, there is no plan. Remember, I'm half German. We used to make like 5-year plans, 10-year plans. This is how your life's gonna be. I'm like, that part, I mean, I still witness that aspect of me. I'm like, I still see you, it's okay. But that part needs to be parked. And I'm like, we're operating, it's like different operating system, Magic Mail operating system 506, you know, where it's like, all right. The promise, or the part of the bargain, was basically surrender my ego to this higher guidance, because I had no connection with God or faith. That was such an abstract thing, and I was almost like really dismissive about it, because it just brought me to more pain. But now I'm like, it's a real experience. It's not the divine within, and it's not anymore. Yeah, it's more like going inwards now. Okay, there's this divinity within you that was, for me, visually this little seed that I tried to protect and has now grown. And there's something guiding you, and there is something unfolding inside of me. And as we're witnessing outside also, we're all, what's happening inside is happening outside. We're going through this big transformation. And I feel in one way or the other, in our lives, we hit this rock bottom where we need to reassess everything and we need to change our way of being. So personally, my way of being now is, okay, I remember the deal, but I don't know how that's going to look like. So all I can do, I pray like every day. I'm like, okay, what's the next step? Like, what do I do next? And I need to, that freaks me out too, because my mind wants to know, where are we exactly going? We need to have things figured out. And it's more like an unfolding, like step by step. I have to be very patient, and forces me to be very present. But I'm aware that, okay, something is unfolding that I cannot conceptualize about. It's a living unfolding, and it's happening right now. And it's happening within me, and it's happening within the world. And the best I can do is really trust. Like I have a mantra, Magic Mel's mantra is Tiwala, magic, faith. Tiwala in Filipino, if ever I have a daughter, actually I'm going to call her Tiwala. Tiwala means trust. Magic, faith. Like I have to trust. Nothing works if I don't have faith. Like if I wouldn't have faith, nothing of this would be working, because my mind would be freaking out and trying to plan and grasp at things. But I just have faith, and I trust. I try as much as possible trust, and just take the next step that feels right. And sometimes it can really freak me out, because my mind is like, oh no, that's very scary. We can't do that. But my feeling is like, oh yeah, that is the next step. And that's this constant act of surrendering. Like, okay, can you let go of your fear? I mean, for example, it's kind of ironic that I'm here very much in public now, because as a kid, I was the opposite. I used to get physically sick. My mom put me in ballet lessons. I used to like be so nervous. I would physically get sick and get stage fright and like almost pass out just to not go on stage. And my journey, yeah, my journey has been like to confront that fear and surrender into being yourself and showing yourself and all of that. So I feel it's this process that's part of my mission. So this unfolding of myself, and maybe by being more and more myself, i.e. following my joy, that I can be more and more of service, because I want to be careful. I'm like, I can't save the world. I'm not saving anyone. Like that is not, as a people pleaser, like, oh, I need to fix you. Oh, I need to rescue you. Oh, I need to make everything good. No, I had to leave that also and just say, you know what? My responsibility is my well-being and my happiness and my joy. And as long as I operate from that, for some bizarre reason, I kind of impact the world. It's like from that frequency, things magically, happen. I mean, look at this. This entire thing is a pretty miraculous manifestation here. And it's this step by step following your intuition. And even BFCC, the way we met, it was through a dream. I had this dream where this red canoe came, and the next day I received an email from Simone Soul. She was wearing red. I'm like, holy shit, that is the red canoe. Like, I need to take this journey, basically. Had I not listened to the dream, we wouldn't be here having this conversation. That's how crazy things are, But I mean, follow your intuition. God, don't we all say that? Like, to really do that, it's that internal process you got to do, and nobody can do it for you. It's like a freaking lonely thing also, because those battles you win inside of yourself, usually there's not anyone witnessing that necessarily. I mean, we have support now, but there's a lot of decisions and choices that you need to make that are just you and you. Am I gonna take this? Am I really gonna trust my intuition? although I have no idea where the hell it's going to take me. My mind is freaking out because it wants to control and it wants to know and it wants to predict, you know. It's like dying every time, like and you're still alive and you're like, oh, I'm still here. You know, but your ego's like, no, I'm freaking out, I'm dying.
So I love that.
So it's another thing. Yeah.
Trust, magic, faith.
Yeah.
Those are some powerful, like, it's a powerful mantra, really. Trust, magic, faith, you know, and it's something that like I also subscribe to, not quite in those exact words, but and I feel like for people who are watching this video, that even if there's nothing else you go away from this video, this interview with, just thinking about how to incorporate that trust, believing in magic, the faith that everything is going to work out. As hard as it is, you know, especially if like the external situations have shown people over and over again that like you can't have faith because nothing ever works out. It's like you have to sort of make a leap and, you know, like, and leap into the what seems like impossible. Like you did. I mean, you had literally nothing. You were like, I have nothing to lose. I have nothing else left. This is like, this is where I'm at. So it sort of stripped you of the ideas that I think is what really holds people back from, you know, like acts of self-healing or allowing the divine to heal or whatever. Yeah, that that what's the word I'm looking for? Trust, magic, and faith, like, and that's what I found, you know. Oh, whoops. For myself working with clients, is that if they're not coming to the session with a little bit of faith, a little bit of trust, you know, a tiny bit of belief, just a tiny, all it has to be is, like you said, just a sliver of hope, a sliver of belief in magic. It doesn't have to be a lot, just the tiniest bit, then we can like do things. And if not, there's, you know, nothing to be done. I can't force people to heal. I just can't. And so, yeah, that's really beautiful. So on that sort of train of like working with people and bringing in the frequency of healing and guiding them, what is a session with Magic Mel like? What is that? I mean, I imagine it's different every time, but like, I'm curious, like, what does it entail? How it like, yeah, if you had an outline or an example or something.
Yeah. I mean, I really take it like case by case, but what my intention is okay, I want to make sure that I come from, I'm like an anchor frequency, so that I need to be in good space. I need to, you know, Magic Mel in her element is like joyful, is very compassionate, and then it's like I have it make a big lasso and I open this ring, and I like to invite the person, and I already, you know, by holding a certain frequency, I invite the other person to match me, because I'm not doing any of the healing or all of that. It's like I just hold this container, this frequency container, and see you as in your highest, you know, expression, like already healed and already fine. And you know, can you match me there? It's us doing the work together, transmuting. If there's anything that comes up, like, you know, the beautiful thing of having gone down this or having come out of this darkness is I understand it. I understand what the darkness says, the voices of perfectionism, of self-loathing, of deprecation, of doubt, of imposter syndrome, like all of that stuff, because I've experienced it. I've gone through it, and I looked at it. I'm like, okay, that is not me. That is not me. That is the non-self. That is the non-self. That is the non-self. whatever we want to call it, the devil or the antagonist, like I recognize that voice and I know it's not mine. So when I witness it in another person, it's like I'm able to remind you that, like, or question, is that really you? Is that really you? Or whose voice is that? Because we adopt so many different voices, whether it's the critic of your family, your parents, your teacher, your culture, whatever. We come with so much programming. So I just like a big witness, a big loving, compassionate, non-judgmental witnesses. I just ask, is that really you? Recently I went to India and I'm still processing that too, but there's this beautiful beginning of a prayer where we say Satnam, such a powerful words. The language is Gurmukh. It's in Punjab. It's like Sanskrit, one of those ancient languages. And Satnam means I am truth. So I intend to be in that frequency, like where I see myself, as truth, and that is love, a divine incarnation. I am a unique expression of the divine. That's how miraculous everything is. So are you. Never ever in our entire history will you exist again in this shape and form and constellation. That's how crazy special you are, and me and everything. So I just to be in that truth and to cast that net of awareness and compassion and complete judgmentality. Like you can come up with the craziest dark self-loathing thing, and I'm like, it's like I'm not even going to judge it. We just witness it. Because another thing I realized also in my own processing that resisting, I call it, I invite the devil onto the stage of my consciousness. So I invite all of these aspects. Okay, what have you got to say? You're allowed to speak. I won't shun you. I won't reject you, but I may choose to act, in a different way. But I don't reject the devil or the antagonist. Like I allow you to be there. So I do that internally with my own voices, with my own ecosystem, and I invite the other person to do the same, because personally, that's just my opinion or experience. Like as soon as I start resisting or shunning or rejecting any aspect, away, I'm disconnecting again. So I hold the devil within me. I hold the self-doubt, the self-deprecation, but I don't buy into it. And I nurture how I want to feel, how I want to think. Yeah. But everything is allowed. So I feel in my experience, like this arena of non-judgmentality already is healing, because a lot of the pain, a lot of our suffering comes from the way we judge ourselves, or we think, internal judging, like that brings out so much shame, and it brings out more disconnection. It's like all kinds of distortion happening within us. So, and then I have to trust, we talk about trust. I try to also like not bring in some kind of, I'm very present, and I try and see, okay, what is this case about? Because it's unique. The moment, the person, the timing, the energy is very unique. So I just try to be very, very present, very, very non-judgmental, and very compassionate, and see what comes out. And again, from my own experience and experience with people, it's like, you don't need to do much. There's a kind of process of witnessing and dissolving, and something comes up, hate, self thing, and it happens, we see it, and it kind of leaves. You don't have to like push it away, you don't have to like force it away, don't have to do anything. It just kind of wants to be seen, and then it does its own thing. It's not something to control. So that's, I call my sessions like frequency shift sessions, because for example, in my experience also, the healing, it brought me back into my natural high frequency. Like I'm naturally high frequency person. Because of the trauma and the wounding, our energy gets split, it gets suppressed, we get disconnected, so we lower our frequency. But just through this self-loving witnessing, I integrated, I reclaimed, and I snapped back into my, my authentic, natural high frequency. And I feel, a lot of that's how we can help people, to allow this process of witnessing and then to integrate, reclaim, the shadow aspects, the haunting ghosts, love them all. And that's how you raise your frequency, like becoming whole again. We talk about becoming whole. It's like seeing the darkness with our loving light awareness, and integrating it. Everybody wants some love, even the devil, especially the devil, especially those aspects that are antagonistic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the critic, sometimes I talk to my critic. Okay, you moody bugger, what do you got to say again? You have 2 minutes to talk. And I let my internal critic talk. You're not doing this enough. You're not doing that enough. And then I tell him, you're just in a bad mood again. Here's a biscuit, here's some tea. What else you got to say? And my internal critic is like, why you always saying, why you're such a good mood? Or I'm like, why shouldn't I be in a good mood? Why are you so miserable? I have these conversations with myself. And then the critic, I realize even my little critic, it goes small and just wants to be loved and seen and not rejected. I'm like, you can be there. You can like be grouchy, but don't, beat me up. Just stay in your corner and be moody. And then it kind of calms down, So I try to bring some fun into the whole thing also. Like I have a friend here staying at the moment. I said, you know what? And we laugh a lot. And I'm like, you know what? We got to laugh about things, because if we take everything seriously, and I'm not saying things are not serious, trust me, but we got to learn to laugh a little, take things a little bit lighter, and really self-love. And that's a big word, self-love, accept all of our parts. Yeah. And the quirkiness and the uniqueness of who we are, and express that,
Yeah. Yeah. I think there is a really beautiful movement right now around self-love.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the major keys to us healing the traumas of being human. And in my group, or my program, Magic Keys to Freedom, I talk about radical self-love. So this is like, okay, yeah, we love ourselves, but this is like taking it next level, where it's like everything is okay. Everything is okay. They're like, and I'm not saying like everything is okay, like go out and murder somebody, because that's okay. But if you did murder somebody, know, feeling the like forever and for the rest of your life, go and be staying in these cycles of pain and shame and guilt and suffering, that's just not helping anyone. It's not helping the family who lost the person who murdered, or whatever. It's just not. So it's like, the radical self-love is really, it's just so powerful. And if we love ourselves radically, we have to love everyone, because we all are part of this whole together. And yeah. Yeah. And do you have any like daily radical self-love rituals or anything like that you'd like to share?
I mean, one thing which I also thought, that's bloody cheesy, I'm not going to do that, but I literally walk up to the mirror and say, you're looking good today, and you're looking younger every day too. And then, my friends keep on saying, Mel, you're looking like when you were 16. I'm like, yeah, I'm not aging. I don't care what age I am. Self-talk. And remember, we are made of what, like 60% water. Our cells are listening. Literally, self-talk is the key to destruction or, thriving. Like my internal dialogue, like I said in the past, was self-loathing, like beating myself up internally. Now I make sure that daily, I just like check up on myself and also look at myself and say, you are one quirky creature, eh? Look at yourself with curiosity, because you are. You're like, do you really know yourself and all the talents and all the inclinations and all the passion? No, you're like this treasure cove, you don't even know yourself. So I'm like, what else you got up your sleeve? I kind of laugh at myself too. And then I really make sure, because my big issue in the past, or my work in progress, is I used to, because of the trauma, I used to escape into the mind. Back then it was spirituality, but spirituality to literally escape my pain, which is a whole thing about addiction also, like trying to escape the pain of the reality that you were in. So now my process has been to be in the body, like to not run away from my emotions, from my feelings, from what my body's needs. You know, I used to override myself, like push myself to exhaustion. Now I'm really respecting, like, self-care. What taking care of my body comes first. Like I rest. If I feel like resting, I just rest. I don't rigidly abide by my schedule, you know, for what? I'm trying to be much more fluid and organic in my daily way of operating, you know, much more intuitive, being present in the body, like what does my body need, and let it dictate how the day unfolds rather than living from the mind, you know, with a kind of agenda. So that's very much my daily practice. Gratitude, you know, I spent a lot, I think I programmed myself diligently into gratitude that it's become this subconscious program, but I had to train my brain to come from this abundance mindset, you know, to look at things from abundance mindset and to be grateful, because you can't complain at the same time as you're grateful for something. So as you know, when I slip into lack, I'm like, oh, what can you be great? Like, count your blessings, and then, you know, we come back into that. So I've got these tools, no, and I feel it's very important for us to have these tools, because the mind out of control, not disciplined, is going to take us into dark labyrinths, no. So training our mind into thinking positively, knowing that our mind body complex is connected, like our thoughts affect the way we feel. You know, we can close our eyes and think about something beautiful and feel good. That's how powerful it is, no. So making sure that the mind is doing its thing, and also not expecting so much from the physical mind, like not expecting the mind to have everything figured out. That's where the higher intuition comes in. That's where the trust comes in. So I'm trying to use my mind only for things. I mean, you know, for example, okay, we gotta learn how to use Photoshop, you know, then use my mind for this task, but not use the mind to predict the 5 year, you know, that is asking too much. So, you know, I'm trying to be very aware of how I operate and what the function of each body part is. Is my heart, am I connected to my heart? What is my heart saying? What am I feeling? What is my very important intuition telling me? That's a daily practice. I pray also, you know, I try and be connected, and yeah, just taking care of the body, because I came also to the realization, I mean, that, you know, it's all good to be spirit and soul and this and that, but you being incarnate, us being incarnate now, that is the miracle, and that is the process. You know, it's the body, us being right here, right now, that makes things so special and magical. And to really treat it as a vehicle for manifestation, for magic, for creating beautiful things, that takes daily kind of grounded maintenance. Not like back to basics, sleep, the way you eat, the way you rest, the way you think, nature, you know, having that in place is like the foundation. And then, you know, we can work on our different things. But I feel it's very important for us to get back to basics and realize we have a body, and the body has needs, and we're made of, you know, the earth, and we need nature. We're connected to nature, like super basic stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to cover that daily, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, thank you. Yeah, those are all good pointers for everyone who's listening. So something that you said that really stuck with me is the like preciousness of who we are in this moment. You know, like this is a singular, like right now, this is a singular event. And you know, I work with some people who are suffering, and you know, I think it's really helpful to be reminded that, like, okay, you're suffering now, right now, but like this is even the suffering is precious. Like, I know for both you and I, and almost everyone I know, you know, who has shifted their lives in really big ways to like really find the joy and find the growth and find that beauty, there had to be that darkness and that suffering. And you know, it might really suck while it's happening, but like it is almost, I don't know a time when it's not the key to the place beyond. you know, and I think that's really valuable to remember that, you know, and some people might be like, well, why does the suffering continue? And it's like, well, because you haven't found that the thing to twist it on its side and to shift it. And I think that that's why you and I do what we do. It's because we want to be, if obviously not, I'm not for everyone. You're not for everyone. We're, you know, some people can't handle this, but, you know, it's like, I'm here and you're here to be that thing. Like, we want to be the thing. Okay. We found a thing for us. Now we want to offer that thing to you that you can maybe use to stick in there, that key that you can turn and turn this thing on its side and shift it, you know? Yeah.
I think that, you know, like looking back, what is so tricky is, and it was very, very real, you know, when I was depressed, I could not see the end. Like you literally cannot see. And you, I think it's very important, or it's very absolutely useful to have, if you're that low, to have somebody standing outside of your hell to remind you, to be like an anchor, even if you don't believe them, but just to have them remind you there is light and you're going to get out of it. I mean, I definitely needed that, because I didn't even believe them. I said, this is never going to end. Like, it felt endless. It felt hopeless. It felt, you know, just complete despair. There's no future, you know. I think when you're depressed, also the time compresses into just now.
Yeah.
You can't conceive of the future. That's your mind is so contracted, and you're so you know, drained by all the heaviness, that you're like, no way, there's no light, and this is going to be like this forever. That was really hard to overcome, or to really to realize, no, this is your mind, you know, in this loop, and you're just not, you can't perceive of another way, but there is. And you got to believe people who are outside looking in, even though they're not with you in the hell, but they are telling you that there is some light, and that you will come out of it. But I totally understand, you know, for anyone who's really, really suffering, I know it feels hopeless. I mean, I think the dangerous thing is the feeling of hopelessness, the fact that it's just, there's no hope, like it's not going to get better. So, you know, for anyone like really down there, if you can have just even one tiny, even if it's abstract, you know, even if you don't feel it, but for me, that image of this tiny seed of light, which came from the Never Ending Story, for some reason I picked it up and I'm like, I know, because basically the Never Ending Story, you know, Fantasia, that whole imaginary land, got completely destroyed by the nothing, which is a very nice metaphor also for our own like self-destruction or lack of imagination. It all got destroyed, but they held on to one seed of light, and from that one seed everything else could be recreated. So for me, I'm like, if I just hold on to, in my mind, to that one tiny seed of light, regardless of the haunting voices, you know, the critic trying to destroy me, there is this light, and I'm just going to hold on to it. And it, you know, I stoked that flame and it came up. If you can have any kind of image for yourself or a person, you need some kind of anchor, because otherwise the danger is to feel like this bottomless nothing dark vortex is just destroying you. You know, I feel that's very important, because a big part of it is psychological. You know, it is our mind. You know, even the critic is like an aspect of our psychology. So if you can create for yourself something that you can hold on to, that is even just the first step of recovery. And then, you know, making these choices. I also told myself at some point, I'm willing to heal, because nobody can heal you. You know, you are the one. Even if you're all of a sudden you manifest people, guides, support, you are the one actually unconsciously doing that. Your soul is SOSing, you know.
Yeah.
And you got to do the work. People will help you in the, you know, different modalities, but it's really work. It's not, you know. And I didn't realize it also. I'm like, healing takes work. And then like, yeah, it's a big task, because you got to deconstruct your mind, your habits. You got to face things. You got to let go of things. So yeah, it's important to have these anchors. And I think it's really helpful also to find people who I mean, what was really inspiring for me also, even when I was super depressed, I tried to look for stories of people who had this 180 turnaround, like Khalil Rafati. I don't know. He wrote this book, I Forgot to Die. I mean, he almost similar thing. He almost from like overdosed cocaine, was on the ground, and then he had a similar thing where he said, God, just give me one more chance. And now he's like this super light helping addicts, and he has this sun farm organics or whatever, I don't know, but he was just like, he literally like switched on. I'm like, if that those stories exist, like real people, you know, even if I'm this sick and this destroyed, like then at least I know it's possible. Like I have something to hold on to. You need these something to hold on to, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
yeah, yeah.
I personally am really grateful to you for being one of those anchors. I am all, you know, you've always I find you very inspiring, even though I am like a person who's like and blasting my light and being very joyful, and but you know, it's nice to see another person out there who's just like really, you know, there to witness and accept and acknowledge the darkness, but also blast the light as well, because I do feel like there is a certain level of spiritual bypassing that happens around the darkness, and there is a certain amount of you know, love and light, but it's not really fully self-aware love and light. It's not a fully like unconditionally loving and accepting love and light. You know, there it's more of like a superficial love and light. And like, you know, there are times when yeah, like there's like a being nice, but there's being kind. You know, nice people ignore the darkness. They don't acknowledge the reality. They, you know, can cause themselves self-harm just by trying to be nice. Whereas kind people will look at the whole situation. They will take care of themselves. They can be honest. They, you know, like there's a certain level of like, um acknowledging the darkness, loving all the parts and pieces, but by being honest and true, you're blasting more light into the world than if you were being nice, you know. And I think that it's really beautiful when I have, you know, since our connecting through that coaching course, you know, just like sort of watching your evolution. I guess it's been, I don't know, a year or two. I don't know. You know, maybe 2 years. I don't know. Who knows? It's been really lovely watching you really blast your light and speak your truth. And, you know, in our personal getting to know each other, this friendship that we're developing, it's been really lovely. And especially, you know, recently, our connection of we have a very shared similar ethos, a very similar way of working with clients. We have a very just similar way. And so, you know, I just want to thank you, and I just admire you, and I'm grateful that you exist and that you're blasting your magic melness into the world.
Oh, and so it goes both ways. I told you, you know, before we got on the show, and I'm like, I feel so like liberated because you're out there too, and I'm like, I thought it was, you know, I mean, I accept my quirkiness, but I'm like, oh my God, there's another one out there. I love it, you know. And yeah, you know, this whole darkness thing, I, of course, looking back, you know, this is with a vantage point of time and perspective. It has been a blessing because the wisdom, you know, I want to be careful with the word wisdom, but wisdom for me is like knowledge that we have embodied and through the filter of our own experience made our own. So it's not just abstract information. It's like I've lived this. So now I look back, you know, back at my life, the Melanie Gritzka that we are, and I see this unfolding, and I see also a sense of purpose that I wasn't aware of before. And I bow to my own darkness because, you know, maybe on a soul level, okay, I chose this path.
Yeah.
And in the metaphysical theories, also is like, if we're all just love and light, the I am, then there's no experience. But to go through this journey of separation, to go into the darkness and then find our way back. And that's a lot of experience and a lot of, yeah, we're taking that with us, and it's not possible without the wounding. So of course, when we're in it, in the thick of things, it seems crazy and we're so disoriented, but knowing that actually this is a journey down, and it's not just suffering for the sake of suffering, but really disconnecting and reconnecting and understanding and seeing the darkness. Even now, like, it's not like I'm immune to my self-doubt and all this stuff, but I see them. I'm more aware, I witness them. I'm like, yeah, I see you. I'm still scared. I still have doubt, but I don't buy into it anymore, because I feel like I have more perspective. And I always ask myself, well, what would love do? What would love do in the situation? And then it gives me that perspective. But I bow to the darkness. In the Jungian sense also, I'm very aware that in the shadow there's a lot of power. We're kind of delusional now. Oh yeah, imagine just having daylight without the night. I mean, we live in a world of polarity, a contrast, put it that way. By having a higher vantage point, we see that light and dark, yin and yang, it's all different roles of the same thing. We need each other. It's like, it's impossible. You can't say one is good and one is bad. Like that whole paradigm is imploding anyway, good and bad and evil, whatever. Like, both is necessary, both is holy, both is sacred. So again, non-judgment, looking at it like this darkness was necessary for me to access my joy. It's the other end of the same spectrum, just the other end.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah.
If someone is not on Instagram or Facebook, they can find you on YouTube. And do you have events, like, for example, the full moon, what would you call them? Full moon ritual, or that kind of thing? Is that on your website also, those events?
It's more informal. For anyone who's interested, I encourage you to reach out to me. I guess Instagram is best, or Facebook, like message me, DM, send me a message. My handle is Mel's Magic Official. And I can send you the invite, for example, to the full moon ceremony. I can, we can.
So what if
have
someone is not on social media?
Email me, melsmagicofficial@gmail.com, or go through to my website, where there's also contact info, melsmagicofficial.com.
Perfect.
Yeah. And my YouTube channel. So my YouTube channel, there's also all kinds of links there, and you can comment there. And and I have a Patreon tribe, Magic Mel and Love Rebels, because love is the ultimate rebellion these days. Love in the capital letters, not like, Hollywood stuff. So you can also contact me on there. Yeah.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, that is it, my people. Thank you so much, Mel. Thank you, everyone who showed up live. Thank you, everyone who will watch this in the times that you will watch it. It's just been really beautiful. I can feel you all out there, all your energy. And I hope that, you access Mel's light that she's sharing, because it's brilliant and it's helpful. And, I think we learned a lot of really powerful, beautiful things today. And imagine what a one-on-one session with Mel would be like.
Yeah, you kind of get my vibe.
Yeah, no, I feel like it would be just really beautiful and really helpful, for a lot of people out there in the world who, can use that frequency and can use that to shift things for them in a big way.
Thank you so much, Lana.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just want to say as a closing, because I want to like loop it back in with what you're doing, Magic Keys to Freedom. Self-love and realizing that a lot of our addictions are a way to soothe ourselves and to escape the pain, you know, to get to the bottom of what is driving the addictions, I think is also helpful to understand what we're actually trying to do. Because, you know, we tend to maybe judge people also, oh, it's addicted to this and that. Well, if you're in pain, isn't it normal that you want to soothe yourself? Like you want to escape it. So having compassion for those deeper motives and drives and understanding where we're coming from. I mean, who wants to really be in pain? No, I think that's important. And yeah, Magic Keys to Freedom. I love your program. And thank you so much for allowing me to share my one key, which is reconnecting with your inner joy. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
And inner
Well,
child.
same. I mean, I feel like the joy lives in the realm of the inner child.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, all you beautiful, amazing peoples out there, we are calling it. And I thank you so much. Yeah. Goodbye. I love you. Thank you.
Love you too, Lana, and all the best with your amazing program.
Thank you.